holiday staffing situations.
Sure.
But I'm so glad to have Nicole Krasean joining me here. Before I get to Nicole, anybody who found us on YouTube, please weigh in, and we'll try to get to your comments as well. Nicole, thanks for being here, as always. You're such a trooper and such a good reporter, and our go-to person, not only on the weekends but during the week. But last night you had kind of a late night. In Tempe. Talk me through your night and your day, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so we had coverage of the No Kings Day protests that were happening. We had a crew that was there in the morning, so they went and got things. And then this video that you're seeing right now, that was down in Tempe, so that was at the end of our night. So we kind of went a little bit all over the place. We were down at the Capitol. There was a little group there. And then we were seeing on one of our tower cams that this crowd was forming in Tempe. And so we headed over there. It was myself and photographer Jamin Walker, and we went there. And to give a little bit of behind the scenes, they had actually moved where they were. So the camera shot that we had previously, the group had kind of moved a little bit. So we did a little bit of a hunt for them. And we eventually found them, Rio Salado and Mill Avenue. That's where you're seeing right now. Hundreds of people, and it kind of grew while we were there a little bit, and then we left about 10:30. So I understand that they were out there a couple more hours potentially after that. But yeah, we got to go out and see this group of people and kind of tell the story of what was unfolding live. Which, you know, you mentioned it was a little bit of a late night, but this is why we do what we do, is to be out there and show what's happening, because this is what people are talking about all across the country, right?
It was a big weekend for protests,
Yeah.
of course, and we'll get to the military parade as well. But what were you seeing and hearing at Tempe as the night got later and later? Was it getting rowdier and rowdier, or bigger and bigger?
So, yeah, I think we could call it rowdier in some sense of the word, because there were more people. It was getting a little louder. There were cars that were going by. There was a lot of like Hispanic music that was playing from some of these cars. You know, the sense that I got, especially when we were first there, was this was really a very prideful scene. There were a lot of people who were, you know, dancing. There were kids around. And yes, they had the message that the protesters throughout the day and across the country had, that, you know, they're not a fan of the policies Trump is putting in place, specifically with immigration. But this was a little bit of a sense of pride, too, with the music playing and with people out there with their children. And it got a little bit rowdier near the very end, because the police started to use one of their speakerphones to share the message that people needed to get out of the street and get back onto the sidewalk. And that was when you started to notice a little bit. There were some people, some outliers in the group who we saw one young lady who was kind of towing her, you know, putting her feet kind of over, and I don't know, maybe I don't want to use the word antagonizing, but
Testing
maybe
pushing the limits.
testing the waters a little bit. But from what we saw while we were out there, peaceful is how I would describe it. And I would add that note of there what seemed to be a sense of pride on top of the frustration that people were feeling. There were a lot of people that were out there, I would say, enjoying each other's company and coming together for this message. So there was frustration, but also kind of this sense of community that you were seeing from people too.
And by all accounts, I think we were actually kind of looking to see if there were any agitators or trouble throughout the day.
Yes.
I think there were maybe a couple here and there, but overall, I mean, by far, in a way, it was peaceful, you'd say, right?
Yeah, I do think so, especially here in the Valley. And I know that there was a report that came out from Surprise Police that we're kind of digging a little deeper into today. We're going to head up there, Jamin and myself again today, just to see what we can find out. Potentially some looting that happened at a gas station in Surprise. That's what police are saying right now. So we're learning a little bit more about that throughout the day today.
Because there was another rally there as well. We're not sure.
We don't know. We want to be clear. We don't know at this time if it was connected to that at all. We definitely don't want to make that connection if it was a totally separate incident. So I would say from the protests that we saw, we didn't hear about any damage in Tempe from police. We actually talked to Tempe police today for a different story, and they said that there were a couple, people that were maybe doing that testing of the waters, but they called the protests peaceful. And that's what, we want to see out here, is people exercising their right to free speech, but not escalating it in a way that it becomes unsafe for anyone involved.
I think we have some video from the Los Angeles protest, which has been going on for more than a week now, where things have been a little bit more tense.
Yes.
I think there was some tear gas used and probably some I'm guessing, troublemakers that started that situation. There it goes right there, people running for cover. I was going to ask you, as we watch this, though, Nicole, how do you yourself try to balance getting the story and being safe?
Yeah, so it is a very delicate line, and we discuss this a lot as a station. There's a lot of, all levels of management are involved in the decisions that we make when we go out to scenes like this, and safety is our number one priority. But, if you're a journalist who's hungry for the story, you're going to stay out there and try to document what's happening, and you want to do that because you want there to be that documentation, that video evidence of things that are happening, no matter where it's happening, whether it's here in the Valley or in Los Angeles. I think there is that feeling, I'm sure you felt it at times too, where you're at a scene and you're like, well, I want to stay here and I want to get this, but you do have to be safe. And so we have to minute by minute really decide. I mean, if we see something that we think may be getting to a point of escalation or there's some tension between some people, these events are usually large enough we can get to another area and be in a safer space.
Right. We should also bring up that to balance out these stories, we do make an effort, sincere effort to do that. These protests coincided with the big military parade. It was in Washington, D.C. It also happened to fall on President Trump's birthday. He has wanted a parade like this for years, is my understanding, and finally got one yesterday. But it's also, at a protest like that, it's not easy to find. You find one group, not the other. So, how do we often that's left to maybe another crew to go track down somebody else, right?
Yeah, so there are sometimes counter protesters that we'll find, but they're rare. I think you would agree with that there's usually not a ton of people that show up to a protest to counter protest that. We've seen that a little bit maybe more with some of the Israel-Palestine things that are that topic. But something like this, we didn't really find any counter protesters yesterday, so we actually brought in Gina Swoboda, and she sat down with us and talked about the perspective of the Republican Party, the perspective of Trump supporters, and what they had to say about the message that these people out on the No King's Day protests were giving. We showed some video from the parade, of course, and then we did head back out to try to talk to some other people. I was really impressed. There was a young woman who is a first-generation Mexican-American that was out in the evening when we went back out to the Capitol, and her and I had a really great interview where she directly addressed some of the things that Gina Swoboda had said and was willing to say that, look, I do have members of my family who support this while I'm out here protesting. We do have, there are members of my own family who feel very differently than me. And she was willing to talk about that on camera, and I understand their point of view. Yeah. And that's kind of the underlying message that we had yesterday was we go out there, we document what's happening. We want to be there to document this history, but we also want to be there to share the message that maybe a middle ground can be found in all of this.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
Good work, Nicole, as always. Thank you for that. All right, we have Robbie Baker standing by. He's going to talk to us about soccer.
Yes.
Let's see. There he is, right on cue.
I'm going to stick around. Yeah, I'm going to stick around for a few minutes. I want to hear. I want to hear what.
I want to make sure. All three. Oh, how cool. Well, do you have any questions for Robbie?
No, I want to hear what the soccer news is.
We're going to talk a little World Cup, maybe, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
As of Friday.
Wow. And the first time, like in 3 countries at once, right?
Yeah. All of North America is hosting. So games in Canada, the United States, and Mexico. The bulk of the games will be here in the United States, though. And I believe the final will be in L.A., New York or L.A. It'll be exciting year.
People love the World Cup.
For soccer coming
up. Even people who don't normally watch soccer, I feel like love the World Cup.
Oh yeah. Well, I talked to Alexi Lawless on Friday, and that interview will be coming up on Sports Night tonight. And if you want to catch the whole thing, you can go to my social media channels. But Alexi played for the U.S. in the 1994 World Cup, and now he's like the lead Fox Sports soccer analyst. And that's exactly what he said: is that World Cups are about the games, and there will be memorable moments, and of course one nation will win the big trophy, but this is going to take over the country and the continent, really, because these games all over, people are going to travel from all over the world to be here. Alexi termed it as one of the biggest events in human history when a World Cup comes to a country, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. Yeah. But it is definitely going to be an exciting summer for soccer fans next year.
Can I ask you the eternal soccer question in America?
Go on.
Will it ever reach the level that it is a top – I don't want to put this in the wrong terms, but it's clearly dominated by the other
– Can it reach that?
Yeah.
I assume is what you're getting
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
Probably not in America. I mean, truthfully, because the NFL is king, right? The
Right.
NFL is our soccer,
Yeah,
if you will.
sure.
It is,
And they're
it
called
is
football, both at the same
Yes.
time.
football, football,
Yeah,
Football,
football.
right? Okay, just
but it is. I mean, the game has grown
Yeah.
incredibly here. I mean, if you look at Major League Soccer, which is our professional league here, Messi plays here now. I mean, that is an example. He's at near the tail end of his career, but it's saying something when Messi plays
Good
in
point.
your league, plays in your
True.
country. So the soccer is continually growing here. The reason that this World Cup is going to be so big too is because not only are the games here, but there's a lot of expectation for this United States team. Mauricio Pochettino is the coach of the national team here for the United States now. He is a kind of a storied club soccer coach. He's coached PSG, Tottenham, some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Now the United States has brought him in to kind of nurture this team over the line and get them to where they want to go in a World Cup. And the players on this U.S. men's national team, they've called them kind of the golden generation. This has all been building to
Very
this.
cool.
A lot of these players play in some of the biggest teams and biggest clubs in Europe. Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie. This team has expectations. Sometimes, this U.S. team, when they get to a World Cup, people are just happy they qualify.
Yeah.
There is going to be an expectation next year that they get out of the group stage and they advance a little bit in this
Sure.
tournament. So that and if they
Okay.
can do that, then you'll see the continued excitement around the game.
baby
Very cool.
steps. A little better,
Yeah.
each time.
A little better, a
Are
little
you
better.
going to be
that.
watching,
More
Nicole?
excitement.
Heck yeah.
Well, you better. The games are on Fox.
Yeah, well, and they're cool. The World Cup is awesome, and you just see. I mean, sure, we're gonna have so many people visiting our country too that are gonna be just so prideful for their home countries. It's gonna be cool.
No, it's going to be great. I'm a big soccer guy, so
Yeah.
I'm
Are ya?
biased. I'm a big soccer guy. I'm the crazy person that gets up at 4 a.m. and watches
No kidding.
Tottenham Premier League games.
And they
so-
don't use their
Nice.
hands at all.
No, well, throw-ins. They can do two hands.
They can
over
do
the-
that.
Yeah.
You know.
And how's the flopping going? I used to make fun of my friend for all the flopping.
Well, they bring out the magic spray still, and
Okay.
whatever.
They do that. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
there's some. It's not like there's not flopping in the NBA, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
in
come
every
on,
sport,
to be
you know?
fair.
Very true.
Okay,
Very
guys.
true.
Thank you for coming
Of
in,
course.
Robbie, Nicole.
Thanks for
awesome.
having us.
See you both later
This
tonight.
is my favorite time of every day.
Isn't it kind of cool?
On the
Just sit here
weekend.
and
It is.
talk.
It is a lot of fun.
Pretty soon we'll be talking
countdown.
about like what we had for lunch and stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks,
What did I
guys.
have? Baked potato.
I know. I'm like, I don't even know if I ate lunch today.
You need to go get some lunch.
I'm gonna go
Nicole.
get some lunch.
You're going to need that energy.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Sorry if I didn't get to your comments on YouTube. We love you. See you next time.